Hello, fellow makers. I'm back with another project for the Whimsy Stamps Halloweeners design team. Today's project is going to feature this cute little gargoyle from the Gargoyle and Friends DP1077 stamp set. Super cute, and he's sitting on this kind of funny looking squished skull. And so I thought he might go really well in this Day of the Dead frame. Since it has a skull, it has some candles and then the smoke from the candles. And since he has candles, I thought that might pair well with that. And I believe he's going to fit really well right inside of it. I also am considering, and I'm not positive about this, but I'm thinking of stamping this Goth Skulls background. Such a great size for a background stamp. And it's just all of these skulls all over in here. And I thought it might, if it was stamped lightly in the background, that it might make kind of a catacomb feeling background. And then if these were stamped in black and colored in, that would be just kind of a really cool kind of catacomb feeling card. So I think that's the way that I'm going to go. Once again, I'm inviting you to come along with me and let's get crafting. I got started stamping on this one, and I stamped the gargoyle in Distress Archival Black Soot on Distress Mixed Media Heavy Stock. It's the paper I like to watercolor on the most. I know you would think watercolor paper, but I really prefer the Mixed Media Heavy Stock. And then for the background, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm just going to give it a try and see. So I stamped the background with this is called the Goth Skulls background. It's so nice and big. So it covered the whole background piece, which I'll probably trim down. And then I stamped the Goth Skulls in Distress ink pumice stone. So this, of course, because it's distress ink, it is water reactive. So once I inked up my background, I then sprayed it, and you can even see it's still a little wet, but I sprayed it with water, a little bit of water with my distress sprayer. And then I laid the paper on it and turned it over. And so it's kind of a little bit of watercolor stamping, a little bit. It will still react to water. It's not done, but it will still react to water. Then I stamped the Day of the Dead frame onto it in Black Soot Archival and the Ground Espresso Archival. So I know you can't really see that there's Ground Espresso in there, but trust me, there is. And it does look a little different when you're close to it. It does look a little more brown than this one that I stamped just in Black Soot. I'm going to begin watercoloring, and what I'm hoping will happen is that I'm just going to color this frame in with water in my watercolor brush. And I'm hoping that the distress ink will kind of blend and lighten as I color in the smoke and the candles and the bones. And then maybe I can go back in and add some other colors on top of that, like make the smoke a little more gray, make the candles a little more yellow and the flame a little more orange, and then maybe some kind of antique old paper, something for the bones. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. This I'm just going to watercolor with distress inks like I usually do. So let's get started and see how it works out. I watercolored the frame, so it lightened everything up, as you can see, and I also went over it with a little bit of antique linen, just Distress ink, so that kind of yellowed the background a little bit. I feel like, so I also watercolored and fussy cut, and I put a little bit of foam tape on the back of the gargoyle. And so he's going to be sitting here, but I feel like the background is still too much in the forefront, and I am going to be watercoloring the frame, but I would like the background to be a little lighter. So I think I'm going to try, even though I watercolor stamped it, I think I'm going to try and lighten it with some more water. So let me give that a try. I'm going to spray the whole thing and get it wet, and then I'm going to put a paper towel on it and soak it up and see if that kind of makes it almost like it's receding into the background as like a mist, maybe like there's, you know, fog or a mist or smoke from the candle, since there is smoke on the frame. Let's give that a try. All right, I have a certain paper towel that I like to use. These are actually hand towels, and I think they're sometimes called Viva. This one is a Kleenex hand towel. So they are thicker than a regular and not really as textured. It's more of a natural looking texture. And so these are very absorbent. I'm going to use that. And let me move this so I don't. And then I just have my spray bottle. Let's see. Try this one. Okay. All right, I probably should have done that before I went to all the trouble of watercoloring, right? Because that really lightened it up. And then I could have just kind of gone over quickly with my water brush to lighten that area even more. I think that's going to work well. And then I can go ahead and darken the edges with the, yeah. So he's standing out much better with that. And so now I feel like I can go ahead and add distress ink around the edges like I want, and I can color this in, and he's not going to be competing with the background as much. So I'm happy with that. So that really worked out. That's a good thing. So really I will then go back in all the way around with my distress inks this way, and I'm going to watercolor the frame so that it is a little more vibrant. Yeah, so I think bringing in a little more of the dark around the edges. I haven't inked these in a while, but they still have a little residual ink to kind of give me the idea. So I'm going in with brown on the edges, and let's go ahead and try a little gray black, especially in the corners where it would be dark. And okay. So yeah, we're getting there. Super. All right, so I'm going to watercolor off camera with my distress inks and my water brush, because as I've said before, I do not own a single Copic marker. And so I do my watercoloring with distress inks and water brush, and that works for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I will be using mostly, let's see, I'm gonna use scattered straw for a yellow. I'll probably use some wild honey. I may throw in a little bit of something like a rusty hinge or spiced marmalade for the bottom of the candle. For the smoke, probably a little bit of hickory smoke, and most likely hickory smoke's fairly light, so I will probably need to throw in and mix with it some of the black soot. And for the bones, I did a little bit of hickory smoke and old paper. And also for the candles, I used a little bit of antique linen. So it's a very neutral palette, and I wanted it neutral because actually it really appeals to me. So, especially because I wanted a catacomb feel. And so I really want to keep this neutral and not maybe whimsical and colorful for this make, just because that kind of just goes with the feel that I want. So let me watercolor off camera and we'll come back and put the card together. Here's how the watercoloring turned out, and then I did a little watercoloring underneath and just all the way around and up to that little shading that I did. I used my blending tool and distress inks in antique linen and hickory smoke. So I left the center light, and I stamped from the Gargoyle stamp set. I stamped Hello Mortal, Gargoyle and Friends stamp set. And then he fits right on there, popped up. And then I felt like it should say a little more maybe or something, I don't know. And so I just, on a piece of leftover paper that I had, I stamped Have a Frightful Halloween. That will go right here. And I'm going to sew around it. And the Have a Frightful Halloween sentiment is from this Whimsy stamp set called You're My Boo. So it has all kinds of words that you can just kind of put together to say your own thing. So I used Have a Frightful Halloween. And so I will attach that. I'm going to do my sewing. Then I will attach the gargoyle. And I think I'm pretty much done with this one. I'm really happy with it. I think it's super cute. And yeah, I like it. This is the end result, makers, and I think I really like it. I love the way that Goth skulls background now just kind of recedes in the background, giving it kind of a catacomb air to it, but they don't stand out as much as they did before. I kind of lightened it with the water. And then the Day of the Dead frame, I think, is just a perfect little, outline frame for the adorable Gargoyle and Friends holding his little candles. And he seems like such a happy little guy sitting there on the skull. And then I think that You're My Boo stamp set was a good addition rather than just leaving the Hello Mortal. I think it kind of gave the card kind of the weight on the bottom that it needed. And so overall, I am really happy with how this turned out. And so I hope that you found something in this tutorial, even though it was fairly short, that you liked. And even if it was just, the pairing of a couple of stamps. If you have any questions or want anything clarified, please contact me through my blog, playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com, and I will see you in the next Halloween make, my friends. But for now, have a crafty day.